Asked my VP to just look for the papers. So let's start the watching of the session.
Hello, Ramsey. How are you?
For president's meeting, we also welcome meeting attendant players from the board and chairperson, CHP, Dr. Bathinda sir. Please allow me to ask our honorable Vice Chancellor sir to say a few words of blessings before we start with the program. Sir, please.
Do you hear me? So, why are we here? Everyone is clear about it. Dr. Prabhu has shared some details, files with you. How many of them have gone through this? We did PDF files. None. You don't see initiative. As far as the national education policy is concerned, there is a big emphasis on capacity development. Capacity development means we have to have a good faculty. Okay? And it's an ongoing process. It will never come together. So how are you going to progress day by day should be your concern. And this is the workshop on your channel. The potential. What potential are you in? And what potential you want to reach? The potential energy of the water beyond Bhakra Dam is the one that gives you all this energy. We have raised the level to those heights and they make the water dip down onto the machines, generating machines, turbines, that convert it into electrical energy. How are you going to raise your potential and convert this into powerful energy should be your concern. Okay? So, overall, as far as national education policies are concerned, there are other concerns also over there to impart quality education, teaching learning process. And this is an effort to look at when we talk about graduating. So, what are your aims in life? Where do you want to reach? What potential you want to ultimately achieve? Just listen to this workshop and go back home. Or you want to become as good as Dr. Bathinda is. So you are very lucky to have a world-renowned teacher with us, an educationist. I think our is the only institution who can boast of having Dr. Bathinda with us. So I wish you all the very best. And I am sure you are going to make the best of it. We shall all the best. God bless. Thank you.
And what's the role of mentoring in today's education?
Part one of the mentorship workshop, and as far as we have a world-renowned mentorship program organizer Dr. Bathinda with us. But I will just say that the latest CBME curriculum has laid a lot of emphasis on mentorship. Even the GMPR regulation, they say that it's a mandatory program for teachers. Like we say that no one is born as a teacher, similarly no one is born as a good mentor. Okay? We learn teaching skills that was made mandatory by the CBME curriculum earlier. We are attending our basic course workshop, while basic course workshop, but there was no massive program for mentorship training. But now the area graduate medical education
session on mentorship. As rightly pointed out by Honorable Vice Chancellor, the national education policy places a lot of stress and emphasis on mentorship. Although rightly pointed out that the new CBSE curriculum also lays a lot of emphasis on mentorship as one of the inputs. In fact, when both of them were talking about the role and importance of mentorship, I just remembered about 20 or 25 papers that we published on competency-based medical education. I now retrospectively am a bit surprised to see that every paper, in fact, emphasizes the role of mentorship. Whether it is teaching learning, or it is assessment, or it is reflections, or anything related to competency-based medical education cannot be complete without a mentor. Some of you, especially from the medical side, may have read some of our papers, and one of my colleagues, Dr. Jyoti Modi, who is from All India Institute for Medical Sciences, Bhopal, she once drew a diagram on assessment in competency-based medical education, and when we were discussing about where to send it and when to send it, told me, sir, I am so convinced now that without mentorship, it will be extremely futile to talk of competency-based medical. And I fully agree. What said, behind every successful man, there is a mentor. I'm sure I couldn't have found a better example. I'll share that with you as we progress through this. So what we have decided for you all is that we'll have two sessions. One is today and another one will convey most likely on 14th or 15th of April. And then two more sessions for others who have not been able to join in. The basic outline of these sessions will be a small talk followed by a lot of interactive. We want you to come out with ideas, you to come out with suggestions. We don't want to just bombard you from one-sided PowerPoints and let half of you sleep and not really go back with anything but. And then in the next session, which you will have after 2 weeks or so, we'll plan a schedule for mentorship activities. In fact, I have been emphasizing on Dr. Kamor, and he agrees with me, I hope, that we need to give a dedicated time for mentoring activities. You know, it's unfair to say that I am in my lab and I should do lab work also and I should do mentorship also. That becomes extremely difficult. You cannot pay attention to both equally. So maybe 1 hour or 2 hours once a week is not something too big to ask for. And every one of us can actually take out that much of time. And as we will see in the course of the deliberation, you will realize that mentorship is a two-way process. So it is not just the student who is getting benefited, but as a mentor, you also get benefited. So why not allow a dedicated time where both can get benefit? The student, obviously, but as a mentor, you also benefit. Let's begin. When you hear this term mentor, what comes to you? Yes, ma'am. Keep sitting. Speak loud. Right. You said something about professional. Okay, so what basically you are saying that mentor is a guide. So you are adding another dimension to it. She said guide, you are saying support her. Okay. So you are still saying guide, nothing new other than that? Guide, support. Two things we have.
Mentor should be a friend. Mentor should be a friend.
Right.
Kind of as a friend.
So when I say mentor, how do you distinguish between a friend and a mentor?
Put it the person in the right way. What mistakes the elder has done, he should tell them.
So are you going back to the guide?
Yes.
Guide to
Yes, kind of.
decide? Okay, admire, maybe I don't know if really that would be there, but yes, trust. That is something which is really important. Many of you might have read this Greek story, Oedipus and Mentos. So this gentleman had to go to war and he had a small son and he didn't know where to leave him. So he left him with his friend whose name was Mentos. And he requested his friend to take care of his child, which he very diligently did. He taught him, he educated him, he told him how to live life and those kinds of conflicts that were happening all around. And that is where probably the name mentor has come. So somebody who guides, somebody who supports, somebody who directs. We look at the dictionary meaning. This is what actually comes up. A wise and a trusted counselor or an influential senior sponsor. Now, dictionary meanings may not truly represent what we are trying to look for in a mentor and vice versa. So let's proceed and see where do we stand. But let's remember some of those terms and we will remember those terms because they are going to be frequently used. So guide, support, trust. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a few situations. You read here, please close your eyes and think. Did somebody help you that? I don't want an answer from you right now. Just think. Did someone help you at that moment? Somebody who took interest in your welfare and development at a time when you were taking challenges. You just joined a medical college as a faculty or dental college as a faculty. You didn't know how to do, how to go around. And then in the classroom, the students voted you out. You didn't know how to control them. Was there somebody who helped you? Just say yes. No. Yes. Yes. You can see one of us shaking. Somebody to help you to find your hidden talent or you. You're working on your lab, maybe singing, like softly. Somebody said, you sing so nice. You made a drawing. And we said, oh, wow, such a good thing. Yes? Yes? Somebody who has been a very useful role model. personally can vouch for it. Many of you might have heard the name of Dr. B.N.S. Walia, who was director of PGI Chandigarh. I heard him in some conferences. And that's the time I decided, wow, मेरे को ऐसे करना है. We would start it off in between, move over to Punjabi, have some 1 or 2 shares coming in between, make the audience laugh, but come back quickly on the serious point which he was discussing, which is pressure case. I've been trying to imitate him last 20 years. Somebody who help you to face and resolve a difficult situation. I'm very well settled here, but I got a job in some college in Bengal. Should I? I'm working as a teacher, but I'm getting another job as a researcher. I have better prospects, but then I have to leave all this. Should I? Now review your list. Who are these people? Yes, ma'am. Who are these people? Mentor to एक generic term हो गया. Your colleagues, your teachers, who are these people?
Our parents.
Parents. Yes. Parents. Good.
Friends.
Okay.
Teachers.
Teachers. Colleagues. Seniors. What you guys?
Discard you also. Discard you also. Discard you also.
Sorry.
The persons who discard you also.
Well wisher. ये फिर बड़ा broad सा term हो गया. तो और narrow कर दो. Have your children ever helped you out in these situations? Yes?
Spouses.
Children. Siblings. इन सब में कॉमन क्या है?
Relation.
सब में कॉमन क्या है?
All are in touch with us in any way.
Also, we
Contact.
Help you. One. Second, I heard something about touch. They are easily available. And third, you trust. Great. Trust. You know, if you go to your departmental colleague and tell him, I remember when I just joined pediatrics, that time we had house doctors. So I joined as a house doctor. And the biggest challenge for a pediatric house doctor that time, I'm talking of 80s, 81. We didn't have any cannula, we didn't have anything. So conventional needles, and then you have to put an IV. And I had a lot of problem in putting up an IV. Now suppose I go to my colleague or my senior and tell him or her, I can't put a IV line. And next morning, the whole institution knows, oh, he can't put a IV line. Would I ever go back again? Then there was a very kind nurse, who taught me the tricks. Do it like this. First treatment, it was successful. After that, I never looked back. How to put up an anemia. So one of the most important things which makes or marks mentorship is, and unfortunately, all said and done, there's a lot of trust deficit between teachers and students these days. Anything you do or anything they do is always like, हमको फेल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. मैं तो पास हो रहा था, वो सब नाराज थे, उन्होंने ऐसे कर दिया. So a lot of trust deficit is there, and that is what actually prevents us from making full use of it. So okay, you did that. So trust, that is something which is common. Don't feel shy. Wait with them. They don't feel shy or awkward trying to offer you a suggestion. But whenever I have a new kind of presentation, not now, of course, now they are grown up, but then I used to rehearse it in front of my children. They were about 10 years and 6 years older. So I would show them. They obviously didn't understand anything technical of what was there, but they would look at the quality of slides, how I was talking, what was happening, and so on. Sometimes they say, very good, very good. And then I thought, क्या बोल रहे हो? Now, this thing, nobody else could have done. Nobody else in my department would have said, क्या बोल रहा है? But who can say this to me? Somebody whom I trust. And somebody who trusted me that I am going to take all this in a proper spirit and respect. So the first thing I want you to go back with today is trust. You have to trust your students have to trust. Unless trust is there, all this talk about mentorship will be hoax. You won't be able to do anything. Okay. Now, what you do, just make a pair on each table and please tell the other person one story about your best mentorship experience. Now, whether you are a mentor or a mentee is important. So you can say how you mentored other person or how the other person mentored. So what was the situation? What were you doing? What advice was given? Why you think it's a great situation? And so on. So take about 3 to 4 minutes and let's start.
counseling to my younger brother. When he was in 9th class, in the morning, there was exam, and he was making micro slips of the questions in the morning. So I called him up, and it was 5 a.m. in the morning. So I told all these slips of my brother, and then I made him understand that if you will get caught, then you will be debarred from exam. I make him study for 3 years more, and then he went to exam and passed the exam. And then he realized that this is a very wrong thing, and he didn't do it anymore.
Sir, when I was doing my graduation,
Wait. I don't want to hear your story. You have heard so many people, no? I asked you to share on the table.
many kids
So come.
will go back.
Yes, good sharing. See, you heard each other, you heard so many stories going on. So just the main theme which have come.
The main theme is teaching also is a skillful art. One has to learn. If you can allow me some minute or two, I can share something with you.
If it was discussed, I don't
I
want
have
to come up
discussed
with something.
I have
If it was discussed, then yes, please.
Actually, sir, when I was teaching my children something, I was having difficulty. I was understanding him how to write 7. I draw 3 dots, and sometimes he did this, and sometimes he did this. I had a lot of difficulties here. I just kept on scratching my head. Eventually, I got irritated. I started shouting at him. So I went to my mom that this is the problem I am facing. I have done my MBBS, I have done my post-graduation, I never faced such a problem. But it was very difficult for me to make a child to understand how to write 7. So it was a terrible experience for me. So I went to my mom. He came out. She was a retired principal. She all her life she taught students in school, and she came out with a simple solution. She told me that you put a dot, one more dot here. When he has to connect these 4 dots, he will never go wrong. So I was simply astonished, whatever you say. So at that day I learned that teaching also requires skill.
So who was being mentored?
I got mentored. I got mentored.
Thank you.
Sir, in all our discussions, everyone was convinced with the fact that if we are happy or at peace at home as with our parents and children, it helps us a lot to guide our students, because ultimately we depend a lot on our parents for so many situations. So wherever we were mentored by them and we were supported by them, that values in us carry forward to help our students. So every one of us face this कि हमारे साथ ऐसा हुआ था, हमें ऐसे बताया गया था, तो हम अपने बच्चों के साथ as students, मतलब टीचर स्टूडेंट वाले रिलेशन में भी हम अपने बच्चों के साथ वैसा बिहेव करते हैं और गाइड करते हैं.
इसको थोड़ा और खींचो.
For example, sir,
वो स्टूडेंट्स क्या फील करेंगे?
students they feel good. There was a situation when if there's one story that there was a child who recently joined a college, and there was a fresher party where everybody is dancing, even drinking or whatever, right? And it is a phase for them. Everyone is going to do that once you are into college. But it became an issue not because the college told anybody, but one of the person told their family of it. Now the family came to us and they said, you never reported us to this. I said, they are big children, we have counseled them. She understood. But then we took them to a different place which was not a dental college, so that they do not feel ashamed, because everybody would know what happened last night. So they were, the parents were taught, we had a talk with the parents, because grandfather was involved in it, so the situations were tense. we counsel them in such a way that even after 5 years now, whenever we meet, they just tell us that it was a turning point for our daughter because you took them as your own children. You did not let this come out. So this is because we have learned similar values from parents. We are trying to do the same with. We understand them or we take them as our own kids.
So I again say stretch it a bit more.
It's because
What the students will feel.
they feel good, sir. They feel that they
Self-good.
they can trust us.
So they feel protected.
Would they not feel that we were treated like this, so we also feel?
Yes, yes. It will go on.
You know, it's a cyclical process. You know, you do something, it carries forward. You start screaming, shouting, it goes forward. आपको क्या?
सर मेरा बेटा सी प्लस वन बैटिंग मेडिकल प्लस वन हुआ ही वाज स्टेइंग डिप्रेस्ड बाकी बात कुछ ना थोड़ा धीरे धीरे रहता है कुछ मानसिक रहता है मैं अगर तो हो गया करनी है तो नहीं करनी मैं कहता हूँ इधर मैं पैसे खराब हो गए टाइम खराब हो गया मैं क्या there is no problem. Even is a time they do my पैसे उनको दे दिया सब मेरे पापा बनता इंजीनियरिंग कर मैं क्या तू सब कुछ और ड्राइंग से कर मम्मी प्लस वन मैं क्या सर गया तो मैं पैसे गए मैं पैसे को इंजीनियरिंग पूरा इंटरेस्ट है टेंथ तक वो जस्ट पास होती है 50%, 49%.
ये जो आप बता रहे हो, you know, this is a most common situation where mentoring will be required.
काउंसलिंग भी होगी, मेंटरिंग भी होगी.
हाँ, because अगर सारा कुछ सीधा सीधा चलता रहता है, फिर प्रॉब्लम जरूरत नहीं होती. Then probably you don't need it. पर ये वाले जब होते हैं कि इधर जाऊँ या इधर जाऊँ.
वो खुश हो गया. अगर नीट को पता करता है, पापा दूसरी डॉक्टर, मम्मी भी डॉक्टर सी, पापा पापा भी डॉक्टर, दीदी भी डॉक्टर, सारे चाचू भी डॉक्टर, तो मैं नहीं करता. मैं तो मैथ्स पढ़ता.
Maybe at the concluding part of this, we will request VC sir to share that this is what is called Dharma Sankar.
Yesterday he told me, Papa, just one. Yesterday he told me, कहता पापा आपने मेरे सबको चेक किया. कहता मेरा दिमाग भी खाली है. कहता भी मेरे 96% है.
That's what I think. This is the most common situation. ये आप एक बच्चे के बारे में बता रहे हो, but believe me, even postgraduates, interns, graduates, everybody goes through this situation. इधर जाऊँ कि इधर, you know, that is where you need a mentor.
Gain the knowledge, not go for the marks.
And this is something which is not available in books. This is something which is not available by discussing with friends. It's something where you need a mentor to really help you clarify your aspirations, not even doubts, your aspirations, your goals in life. You identify the talents in your child, and then you help him or her to take a particular
That's the main
route.
function of
Thank you for sharing that. Now, having heard some of the stories which you shared with each other, so what would be the aims of mentoring? I have done similar workshops in about 50 colleges across the country, and my experience is that most of the times we view mentoring as like हमारे बत्ती नहीं चल रही, मेरे को रोटी नहीं ठीक मिल रही, मेरे को राजमा, especially at CMC, you know, we used to get a lot of children from South India. Now they were not happy with the rajma, रोज राजमा खाने पड़ते हैं. So most of the times we limit mentoring to only these kind of things. Unfortunately, that is not mentoring. This could be done by an administrative person. You put somebody in charge of the hostel who can take care of all these things. You don't need teachers to spend their time for this. But when we say mentoring, then it's with a different purpose and objective. First is to raise the mentee's self-esteem. See, all said and done, the students who get into a medical or a dental or a physiotherapy college are actually the top layer. I just read the statistics yesterday. 25 lakh students appeared for NEET. 25 lakhs. And out of that, if 1 lakh have come and joined various colleges, then at least they must be slightly up more than what others are. But what happens is, the moment they enter in our college, and please pardon me for saying so, our approach towards them is, तुम गधे हो, तुमको कुछ नहीं आता, तुम नालायक हो, निकम्मे हो गए. We hardly try to raise their self-esteem. In fact, if you ask me, in your own experience, which is the most depressing period of your professional studies? The first year. Suddenly, from a protected atmosphere, you come into a place where you are in charge of your own learning, and then everybody is there to pull you down. Teachers से तुमको कुछ नहीं आता, seniors से कुछ नहीं आता. Basic sciences pass करके you go to clinical side, and then say, मैं chemistry में कुछ नहीं पढ़ा था, कुछ नहीं पढ़ा था, ये नहीं बता सकते. Because everybody is out to pull the student. So raising your mentee's self-esteem is one of the important purpose of, and a fallout of this is that you help build confidence. So many times we can do so many things, but we cannot or we don't do because we are not confident. हनुमान जी को लंका जाना था. He said, I cannot jump. And then his friends and colleagues said to tell him, नहीं, आप कर सकते हो, आपकी शक्ति है, करके तो देखो. And he did. So when your students come and say, बड़ा मुश्किल है, मैं नहीं कर सकता. Natural response is, ठीक है, नहीं करता तो ना. That's not what a mentor will do. A mentor will probably try to raise the self-esteem and raise the confidence so that the student can actually do what you want him. Third is to help them attain their potential. And I put it like this, that biologically there is no difference in the brains. A student who scores, say, first or second or third position in NEET versus a student who scores 10,000 or 1 lakh position in NEET. There is no difference in the brains. Size is same, capacity is same. What is the difference? The management of knowledge. Somebody who can recall right thing at the right moment versus somebody who knows but cannot recall it. And there cannot be anything worse than knowing and not being able to recall. You know, at my age it's okay, I can say my memory is failing and all that, but for students, you know, it becomes a problem. You know something, must have heard about curd. उसको सारे गुण पता थे, सारे शस्त्रों का पता था, पर उसको शाप लगा हुआ था किसी का कि जब तेरे को एक विद्या चाहिए, तब तेरे काम नहीं आएगी. And that's what exactly happened. जब उसका रथ फंस गया और अर्जुन was about to kill him, he couldn't recall how to use that Shakti to defend himself. And same thing happens with students. आता है वो, एग्जाम में वो रिकॉर्ड नहीं करता.
Back over it.
So that is where you need to help them. So actually, teaching students how to study is one of the very important roles of a teacher. अपना सब्जेक्ट तो आप पढ़ाते हो, पर उसको पढ़ना कैसे है, that is something which is missing. So we presume that everybody learns the same way, which is not right. Some learn by doing, some learn by reading, some learn by listening. And so, unless we teach the students how to learn, they are not going to attain their potential. Point out opportunities for the future. How many of us tell our students कि PG need के अलावा भी लाइफ में बड़ा कुछ होता है? Really. So many research opportunities are there. So many other specializations are there. Biotechnology is emerging. But many of them actually, after their MBBS or BDS, go on to become deputy commissioners and SSPs and other people. Increase the self-awareness of the mentors. And if you look at the teachings of Gita, the biggest is कि अपने को जानो. Unless you know yourself, you cannot really attain what you want. And that's what I was talking to you in the morning. The first one talked about the benefits to the mentees or the students. But if you look at like this, then mentorship helps a lot to you. It helps you to boost your productivity, expand your networks, it improves your own performance, your leadership skills, it improves your management and communication skills, and your reputation. In every college, there is a one or two or three people who every student knows, कोई problem हो ना उनके पास चले जाना, वो solve कर देंगे. And it is not that all the skills that you learn for mentoring are to be used only in a medical college. You can use that skills at a number of places. मेरे अपनी दीदी से झगड़े होने बंद हो गया. After I learned the communication skills. Most of the times at work also, what is it for? Communication. आप या समझा नहीं पाते या आप समझ नहीं पाते दूसरे को. And that is what creates problems. So mentorship is a two-way traffic. It helps both the students as well as the teachers. Now, if you were to segregate the roles of teachers, then the most visible role is actually imparting knowledge and skills. When you say teacher, the obvious follow-up is that you are talking of giving knowledge and giving skills. But please remember that in addition to giving knowledge and skills, you also have to teach interpersonal skills to the students. If they cannot relate to a patient, all that knowledge and skill is useless. I'm sure many of you must have heard your parents say, डॉक्टर साहब से तो बात करके बीमारी दूर हो जाती है. I remember my doctor when I was a small child, he was not even an MBBS. पता नहीं कैसी दवाइयाँ वो he used to write, but there was trust and faith. My parents, whenever I was sick, they'll take me, बस आप इसको हाथ लगा दो, ठीक हो जाएगा. Same thing is it. If your patient is not convinced, if your patient cannot relate to you, what is the use of that knowledge and skills? And then there was a small sign board which was put up in one of the medical schools. People don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And who has to teach all that to the students? And third, you also have to teach them attitudes, values, motivation. But what generally happens is that we focus only on the first. We hardly ever move to second and third. And it's not difficult to guess why, because it's visible. You know, आपने क्लास ली, मैंने अपर लेवल पढ़ा दिया, visible हो गया। और मैंने उसको इंटरपर्सनल स्किल सिखाई है, जरा थोड़ी मुश्किल होती है। And it's easy to measure also. वो एक टॉपिक पढ़ाया था, उसी को क्वेश्चन दे दिए, स्टूडेंट ने लिख दिया, everybody can be there, देखा, आ गया उसको। But skills, they will take time to manifest, and they will take time to be assessed. And attitudes, values, etc., they are least visible. So if you are sticking only to the top layer, you are performing your role as a teacher. If you move on to the second, then you have become a coach. When you are teaching skills, interpersonal skills, you become a coach. And when you also start teaching attitudes, values, motivation, you have moved on to the role of a. So does this make the distinction clear? And please don't go with the idea that I am talking of three different roles, that I can be either a teacher or a coach or a tutor. As a teacher, I have to be performing all the three roles. Let's view it in another dimension. So, on one hand is knowledge and skills, on the other hand is the personal development. And then short-term gains and long-term gains. The role of a teacher is only for knowledge and skills and short-term gains. When you acquire the role of a coach, you are in the middle somewhere. And when you are looking for long-term personal development of the student, you have gone on to the role of a mentor. Now both have to perform certain roles. And interesting that it begins with listening. We don't listen. We only want to speak. The old saying, God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should be listening more rather than speaking. But unfortunately, what happens? What is the average time that you allow to the student to answer a question? Viva, classroom, or case discussion, or whatever. How much time you give to a student to ask a question and wait for all that?
Few seconds.
3 to 5 seconds. वो उसके बाद आगे तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाता है, ये नहीं आता है. So listening, questioning, seeking options, seeking goals, and asking for priorities. On the other hand, the mentee, he has to speak. So he has to inform you. He has to clarify. He has to tell what I want to do in my life. What are my options? What are my priorities? And the most important thing to remember that it is always the mentee who decides. You know, you can keep on giving any amount of advice. Who is going to follow that advice? The student. So unless he or she is convicted of that, he will not act on it.